It was the month of February in Los Angeles. The year was 1979. Near the Sunset Strip was a large commercial gym called Iron Palace. Outside on the street, there was traffic, but inside, more than 300 people stood in silence. Bodybuilders, powerlifters, trainers, and a few people who had just come to watch. Everyone was waiting for the same thing. On the stage stood a man. His name was Marcus Vail, 30 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 250 pounds, reigning champion of the California bodybuilding circuit. For more than a year he had not lost a single competition. His thighs were larger than an average man's waist. His hands were so strong that people had seen him bend a solid iron bar using only his grip. Marcus Vail was not just a human being. He was an argument. He was proof of something he believed himself, that in the world there is only one kind of strength, and that strength lies in muscle. After what was about to happen in the next 7 seconds, Marcus Vail's life would never be the same again. Among the 400 people gathered in the room, no one knew what was about to happen. But those 7 seconds would remain in their minds for decades. The beginning of that night had occurred a year earlier. Marcus Vail had said something in an interview published in Sports Fitness Monthly magazine. He had said, and these were his exact words, that if a karate champion stood in front of him, he could stop him with just one hand. He had said that true strength comes from iron, not from the tatami, not from the dojo, and certainly not from a kick. He had said that karate is a performance, a show, theater. At the time, that sentence reached only a few people. But among those who heard it, there was one who remained silent. The owner of Iron Palace was named Raymond Delacroix, 50 years old, a former member of the Olympic weightlifting team. He wanted a public demonstration held in his gym. Not an official match, no tournament, just one evening. An opportunity to test one thing. He sent an invitation, thinking that perhaps no one would show up. A few weeks later, he received a response. A simple, direct response. All right. That February night, when Marcus Vail stepped onto the stage, applause broke out. When he walked, you could feel the weight of his steps on the floor. Every step was a statement. He paused a moment before taking the microphone and squared up the entire room as if to confirm his territory. Then he spoke. He said that strength is a universal language. He said that people in the world who learn karate, those who waste their time in other martial arts, simply do not understand that there is only one source of strength, and that source is muscle. He said that he could face any karate champion, without any training, and he would win. Just because in the real world, in a real clash, size matters, weight matters, and leverage matters. In the room, some people laughed, some were silent, some looked uncomfortable. Then, in the fourth row, a man stood up. He was smaller than Marcus, lighter. He was 36 years old. He wore jeans and a simple dark jacket, a baseball cap pulled slightly down. No badge, no medal, no nameplate. Among the crowd of 300 people, he looked like just an ordinary man who had stumbled into someone else's party by mistake. His name was Chuck Norris, Pan-American karate champion, Tang Soo Do black belt, a man who had opened his dojo when Marcus Vail was still in school. A man who had dedicated his life to understanding what Marcus Vail had dismissed in a simple interview. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. You are about to witness what happens in the next few minutes. Chuck Norris took off his jacket. He folded it once, cleanly and precisely. Then he set it aside on his seat. No rush, no theater. He stepped forward. Not a single sound came from the crowd. Trainer Dan Mercer, who was standing in a corner, later said that at that moment his hands instinctively searched for a stopwatch. A reflex, he said, because his body knew that it was necessary to measure time. Raymond Delacroix, near the stage, uncrossed his arms from his chest and took a deep breath. Chuck Norris reached the stage and stopped in front of Marcus Vail, 4 feet away. Only 4 feet. Marcus Vail looked down for an instant, then up, then he smiled. He said that things were getting interesting. He said he didn't want to hurt the man. Chuck Norris said nothing. A fight is not the merging of two human beings. A fight is a dialogue about distance. Whoever controls the distance first controls the narrative of the confrontation. Whoever tries to penetrate the distance exposes themselves. Whoever maintains the distance maintains control of choice. Chuck Norris knew this. It wasn't a theory. It was the grammar of a man who had spent 2 decades in a dojo. First second, Marcus Vile took a step forward. He shifted all his weight. He raised his right hand for a direct forward push. The same movement with which he had moved iron more than 100 times. That push was a wall. Chuck Norris was no longer where he had been before. The movement was so minimal. Just a slight angle, 2 inches to the left. A shift of weight in response, but Marcus's hand found only thin air. His balance broke for a second. Second. Marcus recovered. Faster, it was his training. He came forward with both hands for a grab, at the wrist or the collar, anything he could clutch. A powerlifter's grip is a vise. Once it grabs something, it never lets go. Chuck Norris took a step back before the grip could arrive. A single step, measured like the second hand of a clock moving only on its pivot. Trainer Dan Mercer's chest tightened. He later wrote that in that moment he realized he was witnessing something different. It was not a clash of strength against strength. It was something else. Third second. Marcus Vale made a decision. He was a man who had won competitions because when everything else failed, he relied on pure strength. He charged forward. At full speed, all his weight projected forward. It was the same move that had saved him many times. Like a freight train, Chuck Norris put his left foot forward. He rotated his hips. And he delivered a direct side kick, clean and measured, which stopped just 1 inch from Marcus's ribs. 1 inch. The strike had stopped. There had been no contact. But Marcus Vale's momentum zeroed out like the dropping of a curtain. He froze. Pure physics. Because his body understood that what stood there was directly in the trajectory of his movement. And no body can stop something that is already occupying that space. Marcus Vale remained motionless on the spot. In silence, Chuck Norris lowered his foot, hands at his sides. It was exactly as before. As if nothing had happened. In the room fell that silence that occurs only when everyone has seen something, but no one yet has the words to describe it. Raymond Delacroix's hands fell to his sides. Fitness journalist Karen Aldwell, sitting to the right of the stage, put down her pen and just stared. Tournament organizer Steve Pack, once a Tang Sudo black belt, took a step forward and then stopped. Chuck Norris looked ahead for a moment. Then he walked up to Marcus Vale, so close that only he could hear. He said something. 2, maybe 3 sentences. No one knows exactly what to this day. Karen Aldwell later said she saw Marcus Vale's face change. Something softened. Something hardened even more. Then it softened again. Chuck Norris extended his hand. That was the moment when Marcus Vale had to decide. On one side was the straight but difficult path. On the other was the easy but false path. Marcus Vale took a second. Then the two shook hands. He admitted he was wrong. Directly, without any reservation. Those were his words, and later, about 3 years after, Steve Pack told this story to his students. He said that the night he understood strength does not have only one type was the night he learned something new. Chuck Norris picked up his jacket. He folded it again. Then he walked straight out. Without stopping. Without looking back. As he passed the stage, Raymond Delacroix placed a hand on Chuck's shoulder. For a second. Then he pulled his hand away. Not a word was spoken. No word was necessary. That night did not stay inside the Iron Palace. It stayed inside the 300 people present, and then it went home with them. To their friends, to their students, fitness instructor Mike Caldwell, who 3 years later opened his gym in San Diego, told this story to his first student during his first week. He said it hadn't just been a demonstration. It had been a definition. Oral history has an interesting nature. What isn't written down, grows. Some say Chuck Norris knocked Marcus to the ground. Some say the fight lasted 3 minutes. Some say Marcus apologized on the microphone on stage. It is all false. What happened was that in 7 seconds, without a single punch, without a single throw, an argument concluded. Just that. But that was enough. Marcus Vail did not abandon bodybuilding. He continued to compete. But he never spoke about that topic in magazine articles again. Never again. A few years later he said in an interview that that night had been the best lesson of his life. That he had understood that what we do not know speaks much more about us when we talk about it with too much certainty. Chuck Norris never publicly mentioned that night. A man's true identity is revealed when no one is watching, and he still does the right thing. Chuck Norris walked into that room that night, proved what he had to prove, and left. He didn't win any titles, he didn't sell any story, he didn't ask for any credit. This is what happens when a man lets his work speak for him. There is no single measure of strength. Dismissing what we do not know is only proof that we are still learning, and learning, at whatever age it happens, is never wrong. Next week, we'll talk about Steve McQueen and that night in a closed-door dojo where McQueen challenged a man whose name he had never heard before. And then all of Hollywood heard it.